Gonna give this cover a good old clean and then use this lovely sunny weather at the moment to let it dry. That's a little bit better. I don't know why it's got this slightly lighter patches there, but that looks a lot better. At least it's clean. Just giving this fender and the line a quick clean as well. This was horrible and slimy from being under the floorboards for so long, but now it's looking clean. And then look at that, I'm giggling because that rope was like dark brown. I've just given it a good old rinse. Oh, it still smells a bit, but it looks so much cleaner, doesn't it now? You forget about your lines, they do need looking after as well. I've just been looking at the crown of the head of the mast here. I just worked this. There's a little bit of varnish just got in there, but this is now quite loose again. And then I've just got to work out now. Let's just get this bucket. Just raise it up a tickle so we can see what we're doing a bit better. Hopefully that'll be okay. Just stay there. Now this has got to go on here, and I think it will with a bit of coercion. Now we've got these holes in the mast that I'd like to fill as our next job, and then also we then need to line this mast up. So this is the front of the mast because it's got all the rubbing on it. I think that's the front of the mast, at least. Let me just double check that. Yeah, and that's that was actually the front halyard thing. And you can see, I did notice something. There we go. So that goes on there, and then you can see how the jib, well, it is the jib halyard, is not straight. Look. So we want to straighten that up by going like that. But of course these holes are quite close. Existing little drill holes are quite close to there. So what I think we need to do is fill these with a bit of epoxy, and then we will just drill out. We'll tap this on and then we'll drill out some new holes and then just varnish. I think we'll just varnish tip the screws. These holes are actually a little bit bigger, so we can probably get the brush quite a way down there, get these properly filled. It's just going off a little bit now, which actually is helping because it's wasn't as stiff as I'd like it, this mixture. It's amazing how little you need actually sometimes when doing this. Right. And then these will just have to be sanded flush. And they'll be done. But I think it's worth filling these, because if you don't, I don't know, I think these are some big old holes. You're just going to end up with water in them at some stage. And it's just going to rot the mast. There we go. It's a bit flusher now. Yeah, I think they're going to be okay. Beauty of using the filler is it's not going to run out. So I'll leave that there. We just try and do the other side of the mast now, but to do that, I've got to spin it round. Here's the foot of the mast. And then there's just this little hole there. We're just going to fill exactly the same as everything else. We're all right, I think that's done. Right, let's pack up and go. So here's all the spars that are in my office at the moment. And I've just got to fill these little holes in the ends here. Let's see if we can switch some lights on. Just see if I can. Whoopsie. Now I'm just got to, rather than sand, just going to make sure that's nice and flat. And then all we've got to do is, let's have a look. Should have had these ready, really, shouldn't I? Oh, there's one. There's one. Just going to get the tiniest little brush, and you can see I've mixed this with 404 filler, and it's nice and sort of gunky gluey. And I'm going to try and shove that up there as far as it'll go, up that little hole. Let's go. And I think with this, it's little and often. And you just keep going until it's filled up. In fact, that goes down a little bit further than I thought it went down. There we go. And then, see, because the varnish is not quite hard, especially where it's been sort of collecting around things. And it won't matter if we just put this down, because we're going to just give these a little bit of a dab over. But there we go. And then we're going to do exactly the same as before. Oops. Just going to make that little bit of varnish stroke epoxy nice and flush. That's it. And then exactly the same here. Now, this is unlikely to see much UV, isn't it? Because it's going to, it's the foot of the mizzen, but it's still probably worth So I've been looking at this battery box. I'm not going to lie, it's really getting under my skin, this, because I really want this to work. But not only work, I want it to be amazing, like I know it can be. So we know that we've got to open this from the front. Now, we've got a few problems this presents. First of all, we've got to be able to get the battery in and out of this box. And I've actually drawn a hole here, which will definitely allow that to happen. So you can see that will go in. It's going to be tight, but that's the way it'll be. So we can put it in. Problem number two is that obviously if we have this door all the way down, then the lower down this is, the lower the higher the risk of water ingress getting into the box. And of course this battery is, right on the floor. So, that's the next problem we've got to deal with. Now, by raising the door, we've actually that's a lot of water that's going to be needed to come in the boat. If there's that much water in a boat, I'm going to be worrying about other things, I think, especially in the back of the boat. So, there is that. We could also raise it up higher. but I'd like it as low down as possible. Now, the other issue is, if I therefore have that and I can get the battery in, that means this shelf has got to remain removable. Otherwise, unless we can do that, have it hinged or so it's got to remain removable. I think the only way we're going to do this is to cut that out, and let's see if we can make the first step and see if we can get that to work. We've taken the plunge. Didn't take 5 minutes. The only difficult cut's this one on the bottom, but I used my plunge saw to get a hole, and then I could just wheedle in my jigsaw, and I went out, out, down, down. So you can see, there we go. Now, so this now, we'll obviously take these out, and we're going to stick this lid down, and that will be something like that. This line actually could probably stay and be used as a tie down for the door. Now, first job is, can we get the shelf in? So we can just, so we can do that, yeah, so we can do it. It does go up like that, and it needs to come down quite a way though to get out of there. The next job is, can we get the battery in? So let's take the shelf out first. We'll put the battery in. I'm going to hold this out. So it is tight, it's meant to be tight. Oh, I've got the battery in the wrong way round, hang on. This needs to go this way. Now, one thing I've just, word of warning here, is the connections. There's only really one connection we need, which is the solar panel charging connection. And this has got a built-in solar charge regulator, which should also work from the motor. Time will tell. And then this 240 charger, I'm only ever going to use that when I pull the battery out. So either in a port or harbour, I just pull the battery out. Or I'm going to take it to, take it to Costa Coffee with me to give it a charge. Who knows? But there we go. So we'll just need the wire to be long enough that we can pin this, plug it in here. And then, either it will coil up, or we simply have to make a way of that wire being able to move. Now, I'm going to make sure that doesn't come up. So that does go in. Oh, there you go. It's bedded in really nicely. Whoops, sorry. So that's in. Is it in? There you go. That's in. So that's in. Now, the big deal now is whether... Oh, you can't see that very well, can you? I haven't really got any more lighting I can show you. But the big deal now will be, can we get that in? And the answer is yes, we can. That's brilliant news. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a little shelf on here for this. And you know what? If this cradle gets wet, it gets wet. And I'll buy a new one. And that'll just have to be the thing. I've tried to work out... I mean, obviously it only needs this and this. I think that's actually for wet. That's how it detects the wet. But I only need this and this, I think, positive and negative, to charge it. Obviously, I don't know whether the regulator's inside here. In fact, should we have a look? Let's go and have a look and see how this works, because this would significantly alter the design of the box. Let's have a look. There we go. Let's have a look. Okay, we don't need that. So there's the power coming in here. Yeah, so, oops, I can tell you with a fair degree of confidence that there's absolutely nothing on this board, like resistors, anything. There's no electronics on there at all. This completely passes through the 12 volt to this. So as long as this is regulated, and it gets which this 12 volt output will be, and it gets a charge to these two positives and negatives, this radio itself will manage that charge and switch it off itself, or should do. So that's really good news. Do you know why? Because I can 3D print a little cable that will click on here, and I can make my own sort of little charger. I've made loads of those before, and that means that I can keep this charger, you know, in my at home when, you know, I can just drop this radio onto it. So that's really good news. The other good news about that is if this gets wet, there's not an awful lot to go wrong, to be honest with you.